to the Lucky Shots podcast. We are now in Conference Championship week. Last week, we weren't too excited about the games. Not really anything interesting. What needed to happen happened. This week, holy shit, a lot of fun football to watch, a lot of great games. Just a hell of a week of football. One of the best weeks of football I think I've watched in a long, long time. We start with Cincinnati versus Tennessee. Tennessee, they started the game out with a Tannehill interception, just right out of the gate. Not looking good for them. But it was a very defensive game. Defensively for Tennessee, even though they gave the ball away right away, 9 sacks for Tennessee on Joe Burrow. But Cincinnati's defense, they responded with 3 interceptions. Joe Burrow still had a huge game, even though he was sacked 9 times, had 348 passing yards. And Cincinnati, they go on, they pull out the victory 19-16 on a game-winning field goal. That's going to kind of be the theme of this entire week, because we move on to Buffalo and Kansas City. It was a shootout game. We all expected it to be. It was everything we wanted and more out of this game. You know, Buffalo, their offense had 422 yards. Kansas City's offense gained 550. The Bills took the lead late with 2 minutes left on a touchdown to Gabe Davis. Then they got the 2-point conversion to put them up 3. So then you're like, okay, now Kansas City has to respond. Well, they did. They scored a long touchdown to Tyreek Hill with just a minute left for them to take the lead. But then the Bills, they come out and they answer again with 13 seconds left on the clock. Another touchdown to Gabe Davis. Huge game for him, 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. So then you're like, okay, game's over. Kansas City has 13 seconds to go about 80 yards or, so to get into field goal range. Well, they did. It took them 2 plays to get into field goal range, and they sent it to OT. They won the coin toss and just walked the ball down the field, scored a touchdown, and the Chiefs going on to the conference championship yet again. A heartbreaker for the Bills. And honestly, let's get this whole thing, my opinion, out there on this. Quit bitching about the overtime rules, okay? The overtime rules were not what lost Buffalo this game. What lost Buffalo this game was shitty defense. 13 seconds. You have to stop the team for 13 seconds. Just don't let them get in field goal range and you win the game. They couldn't do that. Okay, whoop-de-doo, Kansas City gets the ball first. Stop them. Don't let them just walk down the field and score the damn touchdown on you. I'm seeing too much of, they need to change the overtime rules. Shut up. Play defense. Be a good defense. Don't let them score in 13 seconds in 2 plays, and we don't have this conversation. If Buffalo wins the game, if Buffalo wins that coin toss and wins the game, you don't hear nearly as much. It's because the Chiefs, everybody's tired of the Chiefs. Get over it. That's what happened. Play better defense. That's all I got to say about it. Moving on to San Francisco and Green Bay. This was a very cold, a very sloppy game, and a lot of empty possessions down in the red zone for both teams. San Francisco got down there 3 or 4 times in the first half, and I think they had maybe 10 points to show for it. Like, awful inside the red zone for both teams. 4 sacks for San Francisco, 5 for Green Bay, so defensively, both these teams getting after each other. But the play of the game, San Francisco blocked a punt. Not only did they block the punt, they took it into the end zone, and that, I believe, tied the game. Then the Packers, really unable to move the ball in the second half, unable to score, and San Francisco gets the upset over Green Bay 13-10 on yet again another game-winning field goal. Hell of a game there. It was sloppy, all of that, but still fun to watch, and fun to see a 6 seed take out the number 1 seed. So both 1 seeds come in this week, get beat by a game-winning field goal. And then finally, we had the Rams and the Bucks. Big offensive output for both teams. Over 400 yards for offense for the Rams. over 350 for Tampa Bay. Both teams, they struggled with turnovers. The Rams had 4 fumbles given up. Tampa Bay had an interception and a fumble. And this game it was a lot looking like the Super Bowl with Tom Brady and the Falcons because the Rams had a 27-3 lead at one point, and they did all that they could to give this game away. I swear they were trying to lose this football game. They gave up a field goal and a touchdown in the third and then fumbled to start the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I mean, you have that big of a lead and you just let them walk right back into being competitive. And then Tampa Bay, with 3 minutes left, got a long touchdown pass to Mike Evans to go down by only a touchdown. So you got about 3 minutes left. Just run the ball, take care of it, run the clock out, get a few first downs. Nope, Cam Akers fumbles the ball and gave the ball back to Tampa Bay on like the 25-yard line, and Tampa Bay tied the game with 42 seconds left. Okay, we're going into overtime on this game. Nope, Buccaneers defense, they just crumble in 2 plays. They gave up a chunk play to Cooper Kupp and let him get out of bounds. So the Rams had no timeouts. All you got to do, tackle the guys in bounds, and it's going to be hard for them to, get going. They let them get out of bounds. So, it's still, you're going to need a few more plays like that, the Rams are, to get into field goal range and try to win this game. But then Tampa Bay gives up a 40-yard pass to Cooper Kupp and gets him all the way down to like the 12-yard line, and the Rams get it on a game-winning field goal, winning 30-27 against the Buccaneers, the defending champions. So we're finally going to have no Tom Brady in the rest of the postseason. That's great. Love to see it. So now let's take a look at the playoff bracket. You got the AFC Championship. It's going to be the 4th-seeded Cincinnati Bengals and the number 2-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. This is the 4th straight year that the Chiefs have the AFC Championship in Kansas City. So they've been here before. They just continue to churn out production. And then in the NFC, you got the number 6 San Francisco 49ers against the number 4 Los Angeles Rams. The last time that a 4 seed hosted a 6 seed in the NFC Championship was clear back in 2009, about 12 years ago. So that is just, it's fun to see, not top teams sitting up there in the conference championship. So for Cincinnati, their road to the championship, they took down the number 5 Raiders 26-19. And then this past week, beat the top-seeded Titans 19-16. Joe Burrow in those 2 games has almost 600 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And they're going up against Kansas City, the juggernaut of the Chiefs, who beat the Steelers, the number 7 Steelers, 42-21. And then last week, the number 3 Bills, 42-36. 42 points in both of their last games. A lot of offensive output, so that should be fun to watch. Patrick Mahomes, nearly 800 yards and 8 touchdowns in those last 2 games. Hop over to the NFC side. You got San Francisco. Their road to the championship, well, they won 23-17 against the 3-seeded Cowboys. And then they won 13-10 over the top-seeded Packers. And in those 2 games, if you think about San Francisco, running the football is their forte. You don't really want to put the ball in Jimmy G's hands and risk losing the game. They almost have 300 yards in the past 2 games rushing. And then the Rams, their opening week, they smashed the number 5 Arizona Cardinals 34-11. And then they just edged out the Bucs, who were the 2 seed, 30-27 last week. We've been talking about it all season. Matt Stafford is a great fit here, especially with Cooper Kupp. Stafford has 568 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Kupp has almost 250 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So obviously, he's been the weapon all year. He continues to be the weapon. you're gonna have to do something to stop Cooper Kupp if you want to win football games against the Rams. All right, so let's take a closer look at the AFC Championship. You got the number 4 Cincinnati Bengals. What are their keys to victory? Well, offensively, you got to protect Joe Burrow. You cannot give up 9 sacks in this game like you did last week, because Kansas City is going to see that. They're going to come after Burrow, so you're going to have to protect him, game plan around it. Try to establish a ground game. Joe Mixon, he's a force. He's a great running back, one of the alternates for the Pro Bowl, I believe. So get him involved, use him to try to at least alleviate the pressure that Kansas City is probably going to bring, and then also combat that pressure with quick passes. You know, you've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. All of those guys are able to do something after the catch, especially Jamar Chase. So use the quick passing game. Do all of the things you can to keep Kansas City from just sending the house at you every play and giving up 9 sacks. Defensively, they need to contain. Contain. You can't let Mahomes just run around and do the crazy shit that he does. You can't let that happen. Force Kansas City to beat you short. Don't let them, pull off a 60-yard touchdown to get a quick score on you like they did last week with Tyreek Hill. Don't let, Travis Kelce run wide open down the seam. Make them beat you short. Keep everything in front of you and don't give up those big plays, and you're going to have a shot. It's going to be hard to stop this Kansas City offense. They obviously have been firing on all cylinders really to close out the season, and then in these last 2 playoff games scoring 42 points a game. So just contain, keep everything in front of you, and make them make plays underneath. For Kansas City, what are their keys to victory? Well, obviously, just stay creative. You saw Patrick Mahomes this past week just Houdini his way out of pressure and shovel pass or underhand pass, something. It was incredible to see. So just stay creative. Try to confuse the defense with those schemes. We've seen things happen this year where you've got Travis Kelce as your quarterback. Okay, that's neat. Do stuff like that. Do the Wildcat with Tyreek Hill, stuff like that. And then, of course, you got to find holes for big plays. You could do it last week. You made plays. You hit Tyreek Hill on a 8-yard post, and he took it to the house. So just find those holes. They're probably going to be there. Cincinnati's got a young defense, so just do all you can to confuse that young defense and, make plays. And Kansas City knows how to do that. Defensively, obviously, the number one key to victory is pressure. Cincinnati gave up 9 sacks last week. That's going to be another thing that they're going to have to worry about. These two teams did play in Week 17, and they were still able to get pressure at that time. So get pressure on them. Use creative blitzes, creative coverages. Try to confuse Joe Burrow, because this is only his first full year as an NFL quarterback. So be creative on defense. Confuse him. And then, just make sure you're doing everything to contain their big plays, because Jamar Chase is just as much of a deep threat, big play threat as Tyreek Hill. So do all of those things, and Kansas City should be able to pull this one off. But again, if you look back at Week 17, Cincinnati, they took the win 34-31. Burrow had over 400 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 11 catches for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. But again, like I said, Kansas City did get to Joe Burrow 4 times. But probably the key in that game to Kansas City losing was 10 penalties. Clean up those penalties, continue to get pressure on Joe Burrow, and cover Jamar Chase, for Christ's sake. And Kansas City, they should be going to another Super Bowl. I'm pulling for Cincinnati. I would love to see not the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but not just that I don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It would be cool to see Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, the entirety of that young Cincinnati team and make it to the Super Bowl. It's been a long time. I'm sure you've seen down on the ticker. It's been like 1988 since they've been in this position. So it'll be fun to watch. I think it's going to be another really close game like it was back in Week 17. I think it's going to be probably a shootout. Both these offenses have firepower. They know how to use it. So this should be fun to watch. And then the NFC Championship. You got the number 6 San Francisco 49ers against the number 4 Los Angeles Rams. Yet another divisional showdown. And if you think back to this last span of years, this division has had so many, teams just in the conference championship. We've had a few times where it's been that division in the conference championship. This time is no exception. Offensively, for San Francisco, what do they got to do? Well, take care of the ball. Jimmy G almost gave the game away last week and had to be bailed out by the defense. So take care of the ball. Obviously establish the ground game. That is the identity of this team. And make sure Deebo Samuel is involved in every single way possible. Last week they did that. Got him involved on the ground. Got him involved through the air. Threw him back there to return a kick, and he took it clear past the 50. So make Deebo Samuel the focal point. Don't let the game fall into the hands of Jimmy G, because he damn near gave it away last week. Defensively, look to force turnovers. The Rams gave up a bunch of fumbles last week, so look to force those turnovers and contain Cooper Kupp. Make sure somebody is on him at all times. Don't let him just run up the seam for a 40-yard pass in an inopportune time. Keep an eye on him, contain him, and the defense should be fine. Force them to find other ways to beat you, whether it be Cam Akers, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler Higbee. Make them go to one of those other options. Don't let Cooper Kupp beat you. And then for the Rams, offensively, air it out. That's the identity of this team. You got Odell Beckham Jr., who he's a shithead, but he's really been playing well since getting to the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford has a cannon of an arm, and Tyler Higbee really showed up big last week. So air it out. Get the ball moving. Get the ball to Cooper Kupp consistently. Obviously, he's your biggest playmaker, so get the ball in his hands, let things happen, and hold on to the damn football. You can't give up four fumbles this week and get away with it. San Francisco, they forced that block punt, and that is what ended up winning them the game. So they're going to capitalize on those kind of turnovers. So you got to hold on to the ball. And then defensively, obviously contain Deebo Samuel. Just like the Niners need to contain Cooper Kupp, the Rams need to contain Deebo Samuel, because honestly, Deebo is more of a threat than Cooper Kupp because he can be everywhere on the field. Play the run hard, because what else is San Francisco going to do? If they are playing the run the entire time, Jimmy G is going to have to start throwing the ball and making plays. That's where you want San Francisco to be playing from, because Jimmy G is prone to making those mistakes. And again, like I said, force Jimmy G to win the game, because if the game's in his hands, the likelihood of the 49ers winning is not as high. These two teams obviously have played 2 times this season. They split the season series, but in their most recent game, Week 18, right before the playoffs, this was literally the game that San Francisco had to win to get to the playoffs, and they did it. They won 27-24 in overtime. Deebo Samuel had a huge game, 174 total yards, a rushing touchdown, and a passing touchdown. So I said Deebo can be anywhere. He can literally be anywhere. In their last game, they saw that. He threw a touchdown on him. So, again, contain Deebo Samuel. And San Francisco's defense played really well in that game. They had 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. So if they can get after Matt Stafford, they can force those turnovers. Deebo's super involved. San Francisco could pull off the upset. And who knows? If Cincinnati and San Francisco win, we could have a 4-6 Super Bowl. That'd be crazy. But I'm pulling for the Rams in this one. I think they overall have the better team. and it's going to be in LA. Home field advantage for whatever that's worth. So I'm hoping to see the Rams and Cincinnati in that Super Bowl. Guess we'll have to see. But this should shape up to also be a great week of football. I don't know if it's going to be able to top last week. Last week was insane. It was so much fun to watch. Edge of your seat the entire time. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next week is going to be the Pro Bowl show. I haven't done one of those before, so it's going to be a little bit of a workshop, but we'll see what it looks like. Should be a lot of fun. And then the week after, it's going to be the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. But this week should be great. Should shape up to be a great Super Bowl. But thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week for the Pro Bowl.